Hi everybody. Starting the video with the disclaimer. This is my fourth day of studying Kotlin. Though my channel name is the Kotlin King, that reflects my aspiration, not the current situation. In this video, I go through things that I learned recently. Today, I wanted to discuss functions. In Kotlin, you declare a function by typing out fun, F-U-N, followed by the function name. Um, you'll notice in the function print hello, there's a parentheses that follows it, and there's nothing inside the parentheses. This means that the function does not require any information passed to it, and we'll go into what that means in a little bit. Um, but it's going to do something um, without needing any information passed to it or given to it. I think one important thing also is automatically associating with the function with the curly braces. I know that there are exceptions where to that rule, but it will be helpful as soon as you if you get used to using curly braces as soon as the function is declared or typed out. So you see here these curly braces show the beginning and end of what's inside the function. Here is a function that just prints hello coders. Pretty simple. How do you use it? You type out print hello, that's the function name, followed by the empty parentheses. And you'll get used to seeing these parentheses um, as you start coding more. But let's see what it does. And as expected, types out hello coders. Relatively simple, a function that prints out the text hello coders. Important thing again is the curly braces. Maybe it'll be very easy for you, but always associating declaring functions or making functions using the curly braces. Here is now another function called, again, you make one, declare one, using the words fun, the letters fun, and this one is called print string. Now, this one, unlike the one above, has a parameter or a variable called line. I know I just said the word parameter, but let's just say there's an input, there's a variable that the function needs, and it is called line, right? Now, we could have called this anything. I could have called this letter A, I could have called this um, any name that I wanted. I shouldn't say any name, but any text I wanted. But as long as this and this is equal, it is fine. So the word line is not important as long as these two are equal. Um, you do need to tell the function what type of variable it is. In this case, it is a string. So you put a colon after the word, the variable name, which is line in this case, and then you need to tell it the function what type of variable it is. What the function will do is then take that line and then print it. So let's do this here. You call the function by typing it, but here I need to put in um, a string. Again, string to me is just text, and text needs quotation marks around it. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to run the function. Should have mentioned that you could run the function here, or you could use a keyboard shortcut, or you could right click and then click run as well. And the function generates the text. I am prints out the text. I am code. Again, this is a function that you'll get very comfortable with when there is a variable declared on the function. It means that the function needs to get info in order to be able to do something. And in this case, we gave it the info, the text of I am code, a string, and it printed what we gave it. Again, important thing is that what you put here does not matter. I could have called this anything, and it still would have worked. I could call this text. You run it, it still runs fine. And I know I'm emphasizing that, but that was initially confusing to me. I would kind of care what the variable name was, where it actually didn't matter at all. So don't get hung up on what they use in function declarations or when the function is written. Here, I'm going to do something a little bit more um, complex. Here, I declare a function using fun. The function name is print multiple. And here, I pass in a variable called name, which is a string, um, and the age. And a second one, I use a comma to distinguish age, which is an integer. And what this function is going to do is print out a string. Again, text that says my name is this variable. One thing, I think in the last lesson I said to always use curly braces around it. Um, I think for these examples, just to make it clean, um, you know, I think you not having to use the curly braces is fine. It's up to you. It's gonna work either way, but decided not to use it just to make it very clean while we learn about functions. So this gonna print out text that says my name is the variable name, which is a string, um, and also use the integer here to complete the text. Now, important thing is when you declare what variable it is, you need to capitalize it. Um, Here, it's actually a requirement. It's not going to work unless you capitalize it. For example, if I try to put S here, it's going to get upset. So you definitely need to capitalize it. So let's use this function. I'm going to pass in, or let's say give it um, some text because the function requires it, right? It says here the variable name, I give it the text, the Kotlin King, again a string, and I'm going to give it an integer of 34, which is the age. I'm gonna comment this out for a second. I'm gonna run it. And it prints out the text as you would expect. So these are a lot of the examples when we first learn functions. And I have noticed in different courses it is almost rushed. And I think it is very important to get very comfortable here because these are functions that just prints out text. It's not a useful function, but of course it's very basic. I think a couple of things I do want to emphasize that's going to help prepare us for the next lesson is getting comfortable the with the syntax or how it is typed. Um, the fun, getting very comfortable with that, and then knowing that what follows right after is the function name. Getting comfortable with the parentheses. If it's blank, it doesn't need anything, any information to do something, to do um, Well, here, um, it needs information. I look at this as it needs a variable, but it needs information um, in order to complete the task. In this case, it's text, which is a string. Um, it needs information to do the task it's supposed to do. And no important thing, it doesn't matter what variable you put here. This was something that's going to be, well, for me at least, a sticking point that it doesn't matter what the variable name is here. Um, and getting comfortable with the curly braces, the opening curly braces and the closing curly braces. And again, the general idea that when a function requires information, it's just asking you to give it some info. Not necessarily you, I shouldn't say you, but it's requiring info. In these simplistic cases, we're just giving it info because it's just printing something out to the screen. And giving it a text of I am code because it requires it, because it needs to print it. Here is asking for a string and an integer. So we give them a string, a text, and we give them a number, and then it prints something out on the screen. Um, and this is not a very useful function, but I still think there's a lot of little details here that you need to be very comfortable with, um, especially the as the nuances and the usage is going to pick up very quick after these few examples. So I think I'm going to end this video here and go into a little bit more complex functions in the next lesson.